Welcome, listeners, to the Pleasure Principles, the space where high performance meets emotional intelligence and where we don't shy away from asking the deep, sometimes spicy questions. I'm your host, Sana, and today's episode is for all my ambitious, purpose driven listeners who know that burnout, breakdowns, and even bedroom disconnection can sneak in when mental health takes a backseat to business performance. So let's flip the script. Well, I'm joined by Nico Verresen, Muay Thai champion, MMA fighter, performance psychologist, and resilience strategist to elite athletes and CEO. Well, Nico isn't just about tough love, listeners. He's about training your nervous system, your mindset, and even your relationships to thrive under pressure. Now, this episode is going to challenge how you view stress, performance, and of course, pleasure. So, let's quickly get into this. So, Nico, welcome once again. And
Hello, hello.
yeah, I mean, yeah. So, Nico, what's this connection between brain, body, and then the pleasure centers of our body? Why do you think it is so important to acknowledge that yes, there is a connection? I mean, it's just for pleasure. Why would I even be bothered to delve into this?
Oh, because we are animals, and I think something, but we're much more than animals. So I truly believe that our intimate lives and the so-called pleasure is a window into how we do life,
Mhm.
and so also one of the only places where adults are allowed to play,
Yep.
to be silly, to do things that should not be allowed. And so it's a place where you can literally be a completely different person.
Mhm.
So I think that's one important aspect. The second important aspect is that we have this anti-anxiety, anti-depression pharmacy in our bodies.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So when we touch each other, whether it is sexual or sensual, when
Mhm.
we really get connected with our own bodies through our contact with each other,
Mhm.
we, we create what I call the yin yang of connection, whereby you deepen your connection with yourself
Uh-huh.
through your connection with the other, and you deepen the connection with the other through your connection with yourself. Like with animals, the traditional sex therapy, they just focus more on the mechanics
Hmm.
and on the sensory focus. And they
Mhm.
say, oh, we have an orgasmic problem, or we have to do sensory focus exercise. Well, yeah, that might help, but very often it's not so much a problem of sensory focus that can be a problem, but very often it is because there's no desire.
Yep. Yeah.
Because many couples, they believe the myth that intimacy is oneness. We become one. But the problem is, you desire
Mhm.
grows when there's a space to bridge.
Mhm.
So if you're one, it's like you're practically sleeping with yourself, and that's not very exciting, is it? Well, can be, but so like many people think, real intimacy is the following: imagine you're wine and I'm beer.
Okay.
We meet each other. Say, oh, that looks interesting. Let you do some beer with your wine. I do some wine with my beer until we are a mixture that nobody wants to drink.
Exactly. That would be terrible.
So what we need to learn to do is we need to learn to create it's like a balance between closeness and
Uh-huh.
in togetherness and separateness. closeness to ourselves, whereby we know that we don't need each other, but we choose each other. Only then you can feel desire and feel desired. Because if somebody needs you, even for sex, then if somebody needs you, then how can they love you for who you are?
Exactly. I completely agree with that.
So yeah, so I really believe that learning how to enrich your intimate life, whether it's with yourself or with your partner, is an absolute powerful way. It's like meditation on steroids. It's like because you when you learn to stay fully present in that most vulnerable position together with your partner,
Uh-huh.
well, that's a full contact sport. I always say intimacy is a full contact sport.
Yep, it is. Uh,
Because to me, intimacy is really daring to show yourself, daring to face yourself and your limits and your bad or like less rosy parts in the presence of someone that you love.
Exactly.
Real intimacy is daring to say no when the other one wants you to say yes.
Um, that is such a profound view of this. Because it kind of has been glorified, uh, and to the very wrong extent. But it expresses such amount of vulnerability from both the partners there. And when it comes to orgasm, Nico, since we are addressing the two-sided orgasm gap, we often hear about this as a quantity issue. So before we were recording, we were talking about how women are having fewer orgasms than men, or maybe some men, they believe that women have the privilege of having multiple orgasms, but men don't have. But you look at this other side of the gap, uh, and you throw a meaning at quantity versus quality, or performance versus presence. So what's how do you define the two-sided orgasm gap, and why do you believe it is just as crucial for men's quality as it is for women's quantity?
So first of all, a lot of men have no idea how to please a woman because they learn from porn that that's the way to do it. And how many men can even if they could, even if they have the stamina and um, the big sausage that porn gives, like you know, it will not work for many women because it's about connection, it's about depth, it's about being there together. It's a different pace. So men, are more like fire. We are excited fast and then it goes and then it's gone fast away too normally from nature. Women take much longer. But for me, like this is like an anomaly. It's really strange actually that this is the case because
Mhm.
to me it doesn't make sense that a woman needs
Exactly.
much longer to orgasm than men, and that many women never have an orgasm with their husbands. What is it,
Yeah.
70% or 60%? It's crazy. But then the women that do, well, many of them have, well, have multiple and deep orgasms, can have such a rich tapestry of experiences. Some even can have nipple orgasms, neck orgasms, womb orgasms, deep spot orgasms, anal orgasms, G spot orgasms, O spot. You have so many you can experience.
Uh-huh.
And there's like this great like and actually I think that's one of the reasons that there has been a repression of female sexuality because it's so powerful. Men can reach multiple and different orgasms too, also. So orgasms without ejaculation, but it takes a lot of training because we have to train our nervous systems. Now, I think also a lot has to do with what we talked about before about the stress. Like, a lot of people are walking around with stressed nervous systems, which means that a lot of men have a chronic tension in their anus and in their pelvic floor, which shortens, the time to ejaculate extremely. Women have this too. And that's why many women only can orgasm through the clitoris, not because they couldn't, it's impossible to orgasm through the vaginal spots, but because they are chronically tense inside. So imagine you squeeze your belly. When somebody
Mm.
hits it, you squeeze your belly. Why? Because you don't want to feel the pain. And so, yeah, then it will feel less pleasurable as well.
Mm.
So both men and women need to calm the bleep down.
Ah.
So what I do with some of my clients that have really issues
Mhm.
is I put them through. Well, I'm not gonna sit next to them and tell them how to do it, but in the session I explain to them that they can do what I call no nonsense tantra.
Okay.
It, but it's not really tantra. Let's be honest. Like, these days people call about neo tantra, which is only a little part of the big, big. Well, you from India, like, it's such an entire philosophy and
Yeah.
bunch of techniques. So, but I call it like that because it captures attention. Why call it no nonsense? Because it comes down to slowing down, to looking each other in the eyes all the time. Just put on a little light
Mm-hmm.
and look into to each other's eyes continuously, which is really intense for many people. Because all of a sudden you're not being used as an inflatable doll, as like a walking dildo. you know?
Yes.
In that moment, it goes about deep connection. Then, once you both warm it up, and then you can go over all erogenous zones, all those soft spots that are covered by flesh. For example, the inside of the bit, like the side of your core under your armpits is very sensitive. Your nipples, the the bottom of your feet, your neck, behind your ear, your lower lip. Well, you have many, many places, of course, But first explore that so you can learn to get used to each other's body. Then I advise once you both are really excited, and perhaps even after the women had multiple orgasms through manual or through oral stimulation, then we do something what I call soaking in pleasure. So it comes down, you enter and then you stay and you don't move, or practically don't move for 10 to 15, sometimes even 30 minutes. Just move enough so you can stay hard. And,
Okay.
during that time, you kiss, you breathe together, you caress each other, you look each other in the eyes all the time. Now, why is this so powerful? And people say, oh, it's going to be boring. No, it's going to be really intense. I can promise you that because, again, you look each other in the eyes and you really start to see each other. You start to see the little hurt child, or perhaps even the the woman that or the man that got violated in the past. All these things are gonna come up because all of a sudden you're not distracting yourself with just jamming like your rabbit. That's why you're soaking in pleasure. But what happens also physiologically is your nervous system start to co-regulate. Your brain starts to co-regulate, starts to have the same brain waves. Because when you look into each other's eyes, if you're not a psychopath, but if you're not a psychopath, your brain is going to literally synchronize with each other. Your entire nervous system is going to synchronize. And if you both are breathing slowly and deeply, you're gonna start to feel much more.
Mm.
Then what it will inevitably happen is that also the pelvic floors of both the man and the woman will relax. Now,
Yes.
what was even more interesting is that then the vaginal walls of the womb will collapse because many women say, "Ah, you have to do Kegels. You have to do Kegels to get tight." Yeah, it tightens up the entrance, but inside, when you tighten the entrance, inside balloons.
Mm.
So then, once you have the opposite, the entrance becomes a bit more open, but then the vaginal walls collapse. And that's interesting because then you're gonna feel it also on your penis. It's as if there's like this velvet glove that is slowly starting to really embrace you fully. And then after 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending of how trained you are, you slowly start to move very minuscule movements. And what you will see is that you will feel so much because you have relaxed your nervous system. You're completely present. That's like almost an orgasmic state of just doing that.
Mhm.
And then slowly you can up the tempo. And then many want to go to more traditional, more hard.
Mhm.
But, in the beginning, it's best to keep like that. Ideally, a man then doesn't ejaculate, and a man saying, "Oh, why would I give up my orgasm?" You say, "I because, well, in the short term, it's a loss, but you will learn to retrain your nervous system so you can stay in pleasure much longer. And what will happen is slowly your threshold, the amount of pleasure that you can take before you ejaculate, will go higher and higher and higher. But that takes a lot of time and takes a woman that doesn't want your sperm immediately.
Mhm.
So it takes two people to tango. For a woman, it's also much more in line with how a woman's body is more like water reacts. Starts
Yeah.
to slowly warm up. But what's also really interesting is that once you get long enough, the uterus, the cervix, the end of the uterus will drop down. And because it will also be relaxed, then it's very strange. Then it's like there's this very carnal side of women that will come up. There's this almost like this holy whore that awakens, that wants to get fucked really hard. It's really crazy. It's like a transformation from extremely soft and then to you can't go hard enough, but because you both relax your nervous system, then most men will be able to do it without, ejaculating within a minute because the nervous system relaxed.
Do you mean to say that, I mean, men have to start slow, or both of the partners, they have to start gradually, slowly.
Yes.
When that kind of, the nervous system relaxes at different places, and then it's then the actual action
Yes.
happening.
Yes. Well, then and that will automatically get stronger, stronger, stronger. And after a while, after you do that for a few weeks, while your nervous systems are so synchronized, then you can do a quickie that is wild and powerful. But you don't have that quick orgasmic response anymore because your nervous system is used to that. Like when you can do that, then you can have sex much more often
Mm-hmm.
because then it's not just about sex. No, it's about that deep, deep connection where it's like a mutual meditation. It's like an honoring of both each other's bodies, each other's souls almost. But for many people, it sounds so strange because it's so opposite to what porn shows. And
Exactly.
I mean, like after half an hour, it might even be wilder than normal porn. Like it can go really wild and screaming and because when you do that, it pulls up old imprints, of our ancestors. We have that genetic memory in us where we can go really wild as beasts almost. But without, like I think a lot of people have an unconscious belief that they are not allowed to enjoy full pleasure. For sure, in Christian countries, I think it's subconsciously that we learn that sex is bad, and so men come fast and women don't come.
Mm.
And so then men, yeah, like men, some men are different. They can ejaculate and they keep on going, but many men can't. You know. Now that is, but there is so much more. Like once you start to learn to make love in this way or to fuck in this way, because it can become really intense. Well, then your entire body becomes sensitized. And there's an exercise that I like to give my clients, and that's what I call the pleasure scan, which is one of the best techniques to get out of your head into your mind, into the now, and also to make your orgasmic potential stronger.
No, it's just scam.
It's very simple. You start to scan your little pinky toes. You can do it right now. And you can start to see if you can find pleasure there. If you can find enjoyable sensations.
Mm.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And so then slowly you will, once you really feel this, you go toe by toe, you spread your awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And you go to your feet and you take your entire lower legs and everything beneath your knees, everything beneath your hips and your hands and just like that and fine. You go up and then you go back down to your groin area and then you start to feel everything so much more. And if you can do it, if you do it in hypnosis, which I sometimes do, I had some clients that have like full blown soul orgasms without being touched, just purely by connecting with the life force that is always there, that creative force that is seeping through every cell of our body, every moment of the day, but we're just not aware of it.
I would like to interrupt you, Nico. Is it true that sometimes, just dreaming or thinking about the person, let's say we're attracted to someone or we are in love with someone, thinking about them, we kind of get that, you know, sudden, um, flow of orgasm, kind of an electric, current running through our entire body, and we feel that pleasure within us. Is it true or it's something made up?
No, it can happen. You have women that just purely with their minds in orgasm, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
I had a client that, if I hypnotize her after like a minute, she is just full blown vibrating, pulsating, moaning. And it's not fake, it's true. And it's not like I'm going really sexual. No, it's just, like she has such a powerful sexual energy that is inherent in women, men too, but men, many men, many women are more connected with their bodies also because of you're so sickly, you're like your body forces you to pay attention to your body, for men it's easier to be disconnected from the body, but I see it also with a lot of very high power women. Then they almost use their clitoris like men use their penis, just for a quick release. And so when you become really clitoral dependent, then these other orgasms are much hard to get because it's both the clitoral orgasm and both well, the ejaculatory orgasm are driven but by the nerve that's called the pudendal nerve, which creates tension, release. Then you have a drop in sexual energy. But then you have like those other spots, those vaginal orgasms, and with men, yeah, it's like the prostate. You can get indirect that orgasm also. You don't have to go in the anus. You can, but if you don't like that, then you have to really train to just stay much longer so that you start to, then instead of squeeze and release, then it's more like the energy goes higher, 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 and then you relax into orgasm. It's a completely different thing. So if women want to explore their vaginal orgasms much more, it's really You can do like a clitoral fast where you don't use a clitoral orgasm and you just start exploring inside and you can relax your pussy. And if you want to do that with your partner, he can help by just, getting his finger inside and just very softly laying it there and giving a little bit of pressure. And you will feel it. You will feel it at your fingers when the tension goes away. You can then go all around the entire pussy and then she will feel so much tighter, so much softer, so much more welcoming. And she will feel much more too because again, the tension is away. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, like about the gap. So that's the thing. The gap comes very often. Like the quantity gap with women is first of all, many men have no idea how to please women and have a big ego. The problem is that then if women try to give feedback, the man is
That is good.
feels yeah. I mean, I don't like him neither. But I found the secret. Well,
Okay.
want me to share the secret?
Yes, please, please.
So, how to give feedback to a man that is very proud? Well, in the morning and ideally sleeping, so you play with yourself a bit so you feel nice and frisky, nice and spiced up. Then tell my baby, I had a dream
Okay.
and you rock my world. And then you tell him in minute detail what he did to you and how he made you feel better than ever. And you know what will happen? He will get a great idea.
Yep.
Yeah. And he very probably will want to live up to that image that you created in his brain. But you didn't complain. You didn't tell him that it was bad. You didn't tell him can't satisfy you. No, you planted into his brain that you dreamt about him.
Mhm.
He was your hero. And then he wants to live up to be like that hero.
Mm, that is smart. That is smart.
Yes. Yes. And also what you can do while it's going on, you know, you can play kind of dominance games. Say, oh baby, I want you to lead me. I want you to tell me to answer your question on command,
Mhm.
harder or softer,
Mm.
up, down, left, right. I am only allowed to say those four things
Mm.
when you request. So again, you put the power in his side. Men men want there's like this song that's called I just want to be your hero. I don't know
Yeah.
in Enrique Iglesias. Well, that's the key to a man's heart. If you learn how to invite him to satisfy your need without telling him what to do and without pressuring him, a man will give you his life.
Mm.
But if you tell a man, for sure, dominant, an alpha kind of guy like me, what to do is not gonna work.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So the dream is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about the book you read and you describe it in minute detail and you just show him how excited you get and positive reinforcement. In other words, if he's doing something that you don't like, you don't give much reaction. You don't complain, you just don't give so much reaction. But then if he does something that's a little bit nicer, you give you moan and you caress and say, oh baby. And then you go bit and then you wait. And then again, you don't give him too much attention when he just does. And then when he does something that's even better, then you give him more attention. So you're literally shaping your man like a dog. But it works because you're not criticizing, you're not being a difficult woman, you're just rewarding him and talking to his animal side. Now, men can use that too, don't get me wrong. Men can use that too and women can use that. We have to learn to shut up more and learn to communicate with our behaviors, which is much more powerful to create behavioral change. We live in a society where words are very important. We need to communicate more. Very often, people are communicating. They're communicating. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
But very often, if we want to create a change, then we have to learn how can we communicate with our behaviors, because men will understand behaviors much more. Women, by the way, just as well. We're the same, you know. Only women have much more connections between their verbal brain and their emotional brain. I think it's 30 times as much. A crazy amount, much more connections between your amygdala and your limbic emotional system and your verbal brain than men. So we are outgunned. So if you want to talk about emotions, we don't feel this is a good idea because it's not a good idea. We're outgunned. So if you want your man to change some behaviors, I had a girlfriend, she was fantastic. She told,
Okay.
and I was much younger, like I was 25, 20, no, at about 30 or something. Was a bit of a wild cat when I was younger. And she was like, Nico, I would love you to be much more attentive, but it's okay. You're just too young. Oh, and I knew what she was doing, and it still worked because actually she did three things. One, she described her desire, her wish. Then she
Mhm.
took away all the pressure. And then she stopped communicating. You're just a little boy. Mhm. That's power whammy.
Mm.
Works like a charm. Because she didn't tell me what to do. She invited me, and then she took away the pressure. And then she says, but it's okay. I don't think you can step up to that role. Now you have to be careful depending on the man, because some men have such a low self-esteem that they will not step it up.
Yep.
So then you need to then create, then you need to give them just positive feedback. I'm a bit of a weirdo because I need a bit more hard communication. And if somebody says you can't do something, I'm going to say, oh yeah, let's see. But for many men, that's not a good option. What is a better option? And then you really look for a moment that he did actions that you really liked. Even if it's something really small, like he put away his shoes. Say, oh, I love it that you're a man that puts away his shoes. Oh, makes me so sad. It's so, makes me so horny. You kiss him in his ear.
Mm.
What do you think he's going to do? What's going to help him to do more of that behavior than say, "Oh, you leave your shoes in the middle of the room again. You're such a slob." What's gonna work best? Do you think?
Wow. So I guess the boardroom and the bedroom, they aren't as separate as we think because communication is definitely here the key. And it is not one size fits all. Depends.
Exactly. Exactly. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Whew. Great, great, Nico. So before we wrap up, I guess we have really, really talked about rewiring intimacy and performance. So if our listeners would like to connect with you more on this, how they can do that?
Well, they can contact me on my socials on uh, Nico Verresen. Nico Verresen on Instagram or just Nico Verresen on LinkedIn and Facebook. Uh, yes, and they can also take a look on toyourtopcoach.com with a two with a number two. But but the best is just contact my socials. Yes.
Great, great. Well, I have all the details mentioned in the show notes. And Nico, that was such a brilliant, brilliant conversation. So many hacks we got to know, the actual hacks, and we got to understand the power of orgasms, the power of intimacy, and
Mm.
it's not just body or it's not just brain. It's such a beautiful interplay of everything. So I guess our listeners, if you are craving deeper connection, more satisfying sex, or a better understanding of your partner and yourself as well, today's episode is a masterclass. It's a reminder that pleasure isn't extra, it is essential. And that gap, it's just about numbers, it's about meaning, it's about mutuality. So, Nico, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with all of us.
It was an absolute pleasure.
And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning to Pleasure Principles. I'm your host, Sana, and saying that the most powerful intimacy starts with intimacy with self. Until next time, stay tender, stay turned on, and stay true to your pleasure. Thank you.